Clerk, you get to ask that one last question, then move on.
Thank you. Retaining attorneys with the defense investigators back in August of the 1994, correct?
Had I discussed this with the attorneys that came over to the house? Are you asking me that or what?
No. I'm asking you, you indicated that your first meeting with the defense in this case was August 28th, 1994, when investigators for the defense went to your house, correct?
Correct.
And when they went to your house, one of the things you discussed is you're hiring lawyers to represent you in your wrongful termination suit against Bertels.
I was trying to get some lawyers.
Right, and they discussed that matter with you, correct?
No, they did not discuss that.
Let me read your testimony back to you, sir. Here's my question to you. I'm reading it from the computer. Do you recall discussing that with the defense investigators, sir? Answer, I might have with the investigators discussed it because I didn't have a lawyer. I was on the verge of getting lawyers then.
That's correct. That's correct.
All right. So you discussed the matter with the defense investigators in this case, correct?
Yes.
And after that discussion, you hired some lawyers, correct?
After that, yes.
Okay. And then you appeared in court to testify at a pretrial hearing in this matter, correct?
Correct.
And at that hearing, you had 3 lawyers in court representing you. Isn't that right?
Well, they're partners.
There were 3 of them.
Yes.
And these are 2 of the 3 in court today here, correct?
Correct.
Now, you did not discuss the subject matter of who to hire to represent you with Mr. Cochran or Mr. Shapiro, did you?
I did not. Order
32.
32, thank you. Sir, I'm going to show you a photograph. People's 532. Do you recognize what you see there?
See a white Bronco.
Right. Does that look like the same white Bronco that belonged to the defendant that you towed on June the 15th?
It's a white Bronco.
If you can see the license plate, would that help you to identify it?
Yes.
All right, let's zoom in. See the license plate, sir? And may the record reflect the witness has removed the
Yes.
impound sheet to compare the license plate numbers. Are they the same?
Yes.
Does that Bronco appear to be in the same condition as when you saw it on June the 15th and 17th?
Overall.
Now, you're asking me if it's...
Yeah.
if
Does that
it's-
appear to be in the same condition as when you saw it on June the 15th and June the 17th? From what you can see?
Yes,
And you're aware, do you know when this photograph was taken?
I have no idea. It looks like some other yard. It's not Vertel's yard.
Have you ever heard of Keystone?
I've heard of them, yes.
Are you aware that this photograph was taken at the Keystone Impound Yard in August of 1994?
I'm not aware of that, no.
All right, so let me ask you something. As an OPG, that's an official police garage, you have a certain responsibility towards the vehicles that you're storing, correct?
Correct.
And one of those responsibilities is to make sure that evidence is not disturbed. Isn't that correct?
Correct.
And any car that may have been used in a crime is itself evidence. Isn't that correct?
Correct.
And that means everything inside that car is evidence as well. Isn't that correct?
Correct.
And it is your job as an employee for an OPG not to disturb evidence. Isn't that right?
Correct.
And when you remove those receipts from the door of the Bronco, you were tampering with evidence. Isn't that right?
Correct.
Now, that T2 area that we discussed earlier, the enclosed area, that's the secure area of the yard, correct?
That's correct.
And by secure, that means that members of the public cannot just walk into it, correct?
Unless they have to go to the bathroom. There's a facility in there. A lot of times, they were let to go in there.
But that means, but first, a member of the public who's going into Vertel's has to go through, has to show their identification at a window. Isn't that right?
A lot of times, a lot of them, they drive in, come in through the side door.
And
If
then
they-
someone has to let them in, though. Don't they log it, sir?
Yes, he's entitled, wait,
I'm sorry, I did not mean to cut off your answer. What were you saying?
A lot of times, they would honk their horn. If it was an unmarked police car coming in, they would honk. If a driver was coming in, they'd honk their horn to come in. A lot of times, a lot of the public would do the same thing, drive right in.
And where would they drive right into? Into
Into
T2?
T3.
Into-
T3.
All right.
T3
I'm
is
not
what I'm
talking about T3.
You're talking about T2. Well,
That's right.
Unless the dispatcher there at the desk, if he knew the individual coming in, he'd open up the door.
Otherwise, he doesn't. Isn't that correct?
That's correct.
You have to, if he doesn't know you as a member of law enforcement or some other person that he knows to be permitted to go into that area, you have to show identification. Isn't that right?
sustain, phrase the question.
Unless someone is a police officer wearing a uniform with a badge, people that walk up to the area of T2 have to show identification to get in. Isn't that right?
A lot of times, yes.
And they have to have authorization to get in. Isn't that right?
You want to rephrase that over again to me, please?
If a member of if I walk up to that area that allows for entry into T2, and I just say, I just want to walk in, they're not just going to let me in, are they, Mr. Meraz?
I know.
I have to have a good reason. I have to have some kind of authorization to get in. Isn't that right?
This is true.
testimony today that the receipts that you took out of the side door of the Bronco were laundry, dry cleaning receipts?
Well, there were vouchers from a Visa. They weren't laundry, they were, evidently, they had gone to the cleaners, and this is what they paid on.
And they used a Visa to pay, is
Yes,
that right?
yes,
And so you, when you read, you actually read these receipts then, didn't you?
yes,
And it showed that they paid for, that Mr. and Mrs. Simpson paid for dry cleaning using a Visa
Using-
voucher, excuse me, a Visa card in March of 1994.
it's correct.
And do you recall the items of clothing that were being cleaned?
One was for a tuxedo, and the other one was for a woman's dress. I assume a woman's dress.
Like a gown?
A dress, yes.
Is there there is a laser beam that you cross when you drive into the lot, isn't that true, sir?
Yes, T3.
So any member of the public that drove in through T3 would trip that laser beam, isn't that right?
Yes and no.
How no?
A lot of times they had it off because the gates were open, because they were moving cars. A lot of the people would walk in without triggering out the laser thing coming through there.
Okay. Now, as far as T2 goes, let's point out for the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, do we have a laser light? I'm going to point out an area on this exhibit, sir, where my light is. Isn't that the door that the public would use to walk in to gain admission to T2?
That's the side entrance to Vertel where you go and claim your vehicle.
Right, that's the side entrance, appears to be the southeast corner of the building.
Yes.
On
Maybe we
Temple
can-
Street.
Yeah, thank you. Sir. Maybe we can circle that area and do a printout. All right, sir. Now, you admitted to us today that you stole something from the defendant's car, didn't you?
I didn't steal.
You took those receipts out of the defendant's car, didn't you?
Yes.
Now, you understand, sir, that did anyone give you permission to take those receipts out of the defendant's car?
No.
And taking something without permission is theft, isn't it, sir?
Sustain. Sustain.
Are you aware that taking something without permission is theft?
Sustain. Sustain. Missing a few elements.
Okay. Are you aware, sir, that taking something out of a car without permission and keeping it is theft?
Sustain. Sustain.
Can I get the piano code? What is your understanding of stealing, Mr. Meraz?
Oh,
My opinion of stealing?
Yeah, what do you think stealing is?
If I took something that belonged to you and kept it and not returned it, that's stealing.
All right. And that would be a crime, isn't that right?
Yes.
Now, someone, Mr. Meraz, took those credit card receipts out of Mr. Simpson's car, isn't that right, without permission?
Somebody walked out with them without permission.
Answer my question, Mr. Meraz.
Yes.
Someone took...
yes, hold on. That's not an appropriate way to ask a question. Ask your next question.
My question to you, Mr. Meraz, is you took the credit card receipts out of the side pocket of Mr. Simpson's Bronco on June the 15th. Isn't that correct?
It's true.
And you did that without his permission. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
Now, if, Mr. Meraz, you claim today that you put them back. Isn't that right?
Phrase the question.
You have told us today that you put those credit card receipts back. Isn't that right?
I've always claimed that.
I understand. That is your...
Yes, that's my statement, yes.
But those credit card receipts never were found again. Isn't that right?
Correct.
And you have never been charged. Now, Mr. Simpson is the victim of that theft. Isn't that right? Isn't
Yes, yes.
he? And you have never been charged with the crime of theft for taking those receipts out of the Bronco, have you?
It's correct.
Sir, is it your understanding that the defendant declined to bring charges against you, so you'd come in here and testify?
All right, I need to talk to counsel at the sidebar with that, but I think we'll take our recess at this point. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our recess for the morning session. Please remember all of my admonitions to you. Don't discuss the case amongst yourselves, form any opinions about the case. Don't conduct any deliberations until the matter has been submitted to you. Let's have it quiet, please. Or allow anybody to communicate with you with regard to the case. We'll stand in recess until 1:15. All right, Mr. Meraz, you may step down. You're ordered to come back. He cited to me
Yes, sir.
27766 through 67. None of those pages address that particular issue.
Yes, I believe it addresses the powdering.
The powdering, yes, but the issue is, does it soak through, and did he find any evidence?
What he's saying there is that all he did find is that it didn't soak through, but that what's there is powder. And then in the other references, he's describing
That's my
the
point,
powder.
though. The record here that you cited to me doesn't have both parts of this discussion. All you've got is powder references. That doesn't help me.
And
The issue is, isn't the issue, is there a soak through from one side to the other?
Right, and he says actually
All right.
on the same page where he says powder, on the
But
very
counsel,
next page.
counsel, my point is, I don't have both pieces in front of me. And having to take the time to go through the transcript to
understand.
find both pieces, didn't have time over the lunch hour, because I recollected that testimony as well,
Right.
but I needed to find it,
I appreciate that.
and you didn't give it to me.
I apologize.
All right, so give me another half hour to look at it.
Fine.
Okay. All right, let's continue with Mr. Meraz, please. I'm sorry, where's,
We resolved the objection, didn't we? So I can conclude here.
where were we? We were at, I'm sorry, refresh my recollection as to where we were.
There was an objection when I asked if he believed that Mr. Simpson had declined to prosecute and thus protected
right.
him from theft charges. And that was my last question, so.
All right, Mr. Cochran has now joined us. Yes, all right, as I indicated, we'll take that objection up when we come back from lunch. We're there now. The objection regarding Ms. Clark's question as to whether or not Mr. Simpson's decision to waive any prosecution of Mr. Meraz should be allowed regarding evidence of bias.
And my question, as I framed it in that regard, was carefully framed, that is to refer to this witness's,
In your own opinion,
in my,
your own humble
artful
opinion?
as far as I'm concerned, was narrowly directed towards the witness's belief as to whether or not Mr. Simpson had declined to prosecute, and that goes to bias. That's what artful is in the eye of the beholder, but that was the intent.
I won't comment on the artful aspect of it, but just the fact that the substance.
Please.
No?
Okay. May I proceed, Your Honor?
Yes,
The
please.
substance, Your Honor, just quickly, I think that the prejudicial effect far outweighs any alleged probative value. And if I might just briefly indicate to the court my understanding of what transpired. First of all, nobody from LAPD ever has talked, for obvious reasons.
This is why I think the witness should be excluded.
He's out. Excuse me, I'm sorry, Mr. Meraz, would you step out, please? Thank you. Mr. Cochran.
Yes, Your Honor. As I understand it, nobody from LAPD has talked with Mr. Simpson, obviously, about any desires he may or may not have vis-a-vis any prosecution of some misdemeanor in this matter. In that regard, I did, in fact, receive several phone calls from Detective Kelly Muldorfer asking me about whether or not we had any interest in this. And as I recall, my indication was, look, we're involved in it was after this matter started trial. I said, we're involved in a rather serious matter. I have no interest in talking about that or pursuing that, and neither does my client at this point have any interest in being concerned about that. He doesn't mean to be occupied by this. And
Almost exactly what you said.
good, well, I always am very credible. So he's given me some statement about this, and let me read what the Muldorfer says I said and see if she's credible. Let's see.
Well, she's on your witness list.
May I have a motion, Your Honor?
Well, I don't see.
Cochran said Simpson is not uncooperative, was pleading for his life in court right now.
That's not all she said.
So the facts and the essence of what she says is basically correct. I didn't have time really to be bothered with this, Your Honor, and I was talking to her in the evenings after court. But the point was, nobody ever talked to Mr. Simpson. I did, in fact, mention to him and said, look, I don't want to be bothered with that. My interest is in
But
fighting my case.
Isn't the issue, though, whether or not Mr. Meraz is aware of the fact that your client has no interest in pursuing a criminal prosecution of him for the taking of items from his car? And isn't that the issue?
Perhaps, but I'm not sure whether he's aware of that or not. I haven't discussed that with him. But as I said, I talked to Moldorfer, and that's pretty much it, Your Honor.
But it's Mr. Meraz's understanding, not your client's understanding, that's at issue here.
Well, that's probably true. That's probably true. But I think that, again, it's so tenuous, Your Honor, and I don't know what the response is going to be. Perhaps we could have an offer, because these questions, there's a question of what's artfully phrased. Perhaps we can have some offer that's going to be regarding this. I think it wastes a lot more time.
All right, I agree that whether or not somebody is going to prosecute somebody or request prosecution for somebody clearly goes to the issue of bias. How do you propose to frame the question?
I thought that I phrased it in that manner. Let me find that number. I intended to ask him whether he believed that Mr. Simpson declined to prosecute.
All right, then I'd ask you to rephrase that, since it's not Mr. Simpson who's declined.
Is that, I'm sorry?
I'd ask you to rephrase that, since it's not actually Mr. Simpson who's declined.
I think. All right. Would you prefer that I phrase it as Mr. Cochran declined to prosecute? Have I understood the court correctly? That you would like me to phrase it as Mr. Cochran declined?
Well, I'd rather not
Well-
phrase it at all.
I understand. No, but I think clearly it goes to the issue of bias. The issue is whether or not Mr. Meraz is aware that the defendant has expressed no interest in pursuing criminal prosecution of him.
Right. And not whether even that's true, not whether he believes that.
That's the issue.
Right.
So you can ask him, are you aware, or do you believe, or is it your understanding that the defendant has expressed no desire to prosecute you?
As opposed to declined to prosecute?
The only problem with that misstates, Your Honor. The conversation with me, they never talked with Mr.
All
Simpson
right,
at all.
that defense that his attorney has expressed no interest in pursuing a criminal prosecution.
As opposed to declined to prosecute?
It's talking about the attorney.
The attorney,
As
that
opposed to
Mr.
Mr.
Cochran,
Simpson. They never talked to Mr. Simpson.
representing this, that Mr. Cochran has expressed no interest in pursuing the prosecution. All right. And then you're going to wind this up? Okay. That's the last question?
May I move?
What's on the record, Your Honor, the names of the next two witnesses?
I'm sorry, who are the two next witnesses?
I believe it will be Richard Walsh and I think Willie Ford.
I'll take up the rest of the afternoon, you think?
We're leaving at 4. I would suspect it will, although we'll have one other witness too. We can get Muldrow or we can get Del St. John. We'll have another witness in case we.
Okay,
Mr. Ford and Detective Moldorf are in the building.
okay.
I couldn't even say.
They're in the building. Mr.
Okay,
Ford
thank
and Ms. Moldorf, they're on 18.
All right. Let's have the jurors, please.
Yes, there was one other item I meant to mark with Mr. Meraz, I'll be very brief. But I'm.
You're done.
I am.
Right.
May I also ask Your Honor,
for leave to address the court on the issue of perhaps holding a 402 with testimony concerning the matters taken up this morning. I don't know when the court would like to address that in.
Which part?
We have Mr. Sims, Mr. Matheson, and Mr. DeForest present, who would actually welcome the opportunity to address the court on their operations and the subject matter we took up.
But the issue is really, has an appropriate offer been made, and does the transcript support the relevance of the issue? That's really what I need to decide.
Well, if that doesn't go to the consensus similarity issue with the experiments and all the rest of it.
I thought we discussed that already, Counsel. Let's have the jury, please. Seated. Let the record reflect that we've been rejoined by all the members of our jury panel. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. All right, let's have Mr. Meraz resume the witness stand. Mrs. Robertson, do we have a fresh cup of water? Mr. Meraz, would you come forward, please? All right, good afternoon again, Mr. Meraz.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Meraz, sir, you were reminded you were still under oath. Ms. Clark, you may conclude your cross-examination. You're welcome.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Meraz, we earlier discussed the fact that, discussed the existence of a piece of paper in which you wrote down that you admitted to taking paper out of the defendant's car, and that you also indicated in that statement that you put them back in the car. And you indicated you had no memory of writing such a document or signing it, correct?
Correct.
I have here a document that has been given to counsel some time ago. I'd ask that this document be marked People's Next in order of 533, is it?
533.
Let me show you first, Mr. Meraz, and ask you if you recognize the signature and the handwriting on this document.
I remember, yes.
Is that your handwriting, sir?
Yes, it
Is that
is.
your signature, sir?
Yes.
You recognize the date of June the 17th, 1994 on this document?
Yes, I do.
And this document was signed by you after you had been shown the signed statements of other employees who stated they saw you showing them the receipts. Isn't that correct?
No, it's not true.
It's not true that you wrote this out after you were shown the signed statements of other employees who said they saw you with the receipts you stole from Mr. Simpson's Bronco,
Sustain.
took
Phrase it.
from Mr. Simpson's Bronco without his permission.
It's not true.
What is your testimony as to when you signed this document, sir?
I signed those documents. They asked me to sign a document on that recall. They asked me to sign it to state the fact that I had put the papers back in there. and that's what they wanted from me. It was after they showed me those. I signed those willingly that I had put those papers back.
And it was before you were shown the signed statements of the other employees?
It was,
The fact that I have shown statements.
oh, well. It was after the fact that they had talked to me and discussed everything with me. They wanted me to write that.
And was it after the fact that they confronted you with the fact that other employees had reported seeing you with the receipts you took from the defendant's Bronco without his permission?
I signed that when everything was all done and they had talked to me. I had signed those, and they come up to me. And the reason I signed those papers was because of the fact I had to clear myself up. And that's why I signed that.
And Mr. Meraz, you signed this after you went to the Bronco, looked in the side pocket, and saw that there were no receipts there, correct?
That's correct.
In fact, after everyone saw the receipts that you claimed to have put back were not there, correct?
Sustained. Sustained.
Mr. Vertel and Mr. Jones were with you, isn't that right?
That's correct.
And they also, in your company, looked at the side door pocket where you were looking and pointing to them, correct?
It's not correct. There was two of us, not three.
Who was with you?
Bob Jones and myself.
And you pointed to Bob Jones, the area of the side pocket where you claimed to have put those receipts, correct?
Correct.
And they were not there, correct?
Correct.
And it was after that point that they confronted you with the statements of other employees at Vertel's who said they saw you with the receipts, correct?
Overruled.
That's not correct.
So
I think
you-
we've established that point now.
Okay, then after you were confronted with these statements of other employees, and after you went to the door of the Bronco and saw that the receipts you claimed to have put back were not there, you signed this statement. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right, this is 533 on the
Five-
Elmo.
Yes, Your Honor. And it says, I, John J. Meraz, took some paper out of O.J.'s car and put them back in the car on June 17th, 1994, correct?
Correct.
Sir, is it your understanding that Mr. Cochran, as of April of this year, has expressed no interest in pursuing a prosecution against you for theft?
As far as I know, nobody has.
And is it your belief that Mr. Cochran has declined to pursue any prosecution of you for theft?
Overruled.
I was told that nobody was going to file charges.
And were you also told that Mr. Cochran expressly declined to pursue the prosecution of you for theft?
Overruled.
Again, I was told that they weren't going to file charges on me.
And when you say they, you mean the defense, Mr.
Yes.
Cochran, correct?
Overruled. Yes, that is answer stricken. Phrase the question.
When you say file charges, sir, do you mean they declined to pursue a prosecution of you for theft from the defendant's Bronco? Is that your understanding?
Overruled.
From the way I was told is that they weren't going to file charges on me, is what I was told.
And when you say they, who are you referring to?
I'm referring to Mr. Cochran.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Rev. Mr. Meraz, a few questions if I might. Let's put that back up for just a second, Mr. Fredlow, please.
This is 533.
533, Your Honor. Thank you very much. With regard to Exhibit 533, is that what you told this jury here today, that you took these papers out of the car and put them back in that car?
Is correct.
Is that what you've been telling and saying all along to everybody who's listening in this case?
To everybody, yes.
And is that the truth?
That's the truth.
When you took the papers from the car, you kept them that day and you put them back in that car that same day, is that right?
This is true.
And so you didn't permanently deprive the owner of those particular papers, is that correct?
Overruled.
That's true.
You put them back, right?
Put them back, assuming that they were still there.
All right, and then you didn't find them later, is that right?
Didn't find them later.
Now, you remember Ms. Clark was asking you some questions from a transcript, and you said that she was confused in her answer. Do you recall that? She read a transcript of a conversation with Mr. Hodgman. Remember that?
Oh, yes.
Okay, I want to read what she read, and I want to read where she stopped, all right? Am I
Okay.
good? Council knows
What
where this
page?
is. This is page 5389, Your Honor, beginning at line 7. I want to read it all the way through to clear it up, if I might. Question.
Editorial, Your Honor.
Sustained, jurors to disregard.
Question? Merci.
Proceed.
Question. And once again, on that date, you were asked by Mr. Vertel, this time if you'd removed any items from the Ford Bronco. Is that correct? Answer, that's correct. Question. And at first, you denied taking anything out of the Ford Bronco. Isn't that right? Answer, that is not true. That's the same thing you told us here. Isn't that correct?
That's true.
All right. Question. At first, you denied taking anything from the Ford Bronco. Did you not? Answer. At first, yes. Question. So at first, you lied again, this time to Mr. Vertel and to Mr. Jones. Isn't that correct? Answer. I don't quite follow you on that statement, what you were saying. You were saying two things. I denied it to Bob the day that I was in there. I did not deny it to Vertel. Have you so testified?
That's my statement, yes.
And that's what you told this jury also, isn't it?
This is true.
Question. Isn't it a fact, Mr. Meraz, that you only admitted taking those items after you were shown some written statements from other employees at Vertel's? Answer, that's not true. Did you so testify?
True, that's true.
And that's the same thing you told this jury here, isn't that correct?
Yes.
Your Honor, thank you. Just make sure that's... Now, I want to ask you a few other questions, if I might, Mr. Meraz. With regard to this Bronco vehicle that you towed there, when you arrived at Vertel's on June 15, sometime after 11 o'clock in the morning of that date, did you ever see any other Vertel employees in and around the Bronco vehicle after you arrived there?
Objection, compound.
Sustained. Rephrase the question.
Certainly, Your Honor.
Compound.
When you got to Vertel's, did you see any other Vertel employees there?
When I pulled into the yard, they were waiting for me out there in the yard.
All right, and how many were waiting for you?
10 employees.
All right. Now, with regard to these 10 employees, did you see whether or not any of them ever looked inside that Bronco?
Objection, vague.
Overruled.
Well, the door was open. The driver's side of the door was open, so they all had access to see what was in the Bronco.
All right. And
Motion to strike down responsive.
Overruled.
did you ever observe whether or not any of them looked inside the Bronco?
There's so much commotion going on because everybody was so enthused of looking at the Bronco.
All right, and why were they enthused of looking at the Bronco?
Being because it was O.J. Simpson's car and the way the media press had put it out to be like.
And what did the media press put it out to be?
Said it had all kinds of blood inside the car, and they were all looking for blood.
And did you see any blood on that occasion?
Objection, answered.
Overruled.
I didn't see any blood at all.
All right, now I'm going to show you this photograph which counsel showed you, put 529 on the Elmo, and I'll ask you specifically regarding this photograph. Remove that in. Now, Mr. Clark asked you some questions about this particular photograph, Exhibit 529. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And looking at that photograph, you described that you saw some spots on the inside of that door of that vehicle, right?
Yes.
Now, on the date when you were inside that vehicle on June 15th, on these 3 occasions, did you ever see those spots that are depicted in 523 there inside that vehicle?
Objection, Your Honor.
Overruled.
Did you ever see those spots in that vehicle at that time?
No, I did not.
You have, now, Mrs. Clark intimated you have some problems with your sight. Do you have any problems seeing those spots there?
No? No, I don't.
And she also indicated you were colorblind. Are you colorblind?
No, I don't think so.
And when you referred to that marker as being pink, did that appear pink to you?
The,
Arrow?
the arrow?
I think she used marker. But
Arrow.
arrow. The arrow
Yes,
appeared pink to you?
yes.
And you could tell the difference between pink and green, could you not?
Yes, the round things were green.
And the arrow that you see up on the screen now?
It's pink.
All right. Now I want to ask you specifically, you were asked some questions, some other questions about some marks on the door. I want to place on the Elmo, Your Honor, 528A. You can move that back. Can you see that?
Yes,
Apparently see like some dark powder in and around the driver's door of the Bronco.
yes.
When you picked that Bronco up from the print shed on June 15th, 1994, somewhere around 11 o'clock or thereabouts on that date, do you recall seeing the door of the Bronco in that condition where you saw any black print powder or brown or dark gray print powder on the vehicle?
No, I didn't.
Now, you said you'd worked for Vertel's for some 25 years,
That's correct.
and have you seen print powder on cars before?
A lot of times.
And you know what print powder looks like?
Yes,
Now, the representation was this picture was taken, I think she said, on June 14th. So you didn't see the car on the 14th, did you?
no, I didn't see it on the 14th.
You saw it on the 15th.
That's correct.
All right. Did the side door of that car appear that way on the 15th when you picked it up, as you recall? Your honest opinion.
My honest opinion, that I can recall, I did not see that.
Now, she asked you some questions also about dome lights and things. Do you recall any looking or seeing any dome lights in that car at all?
I wasn't looking for,
Do you recall when you opened the Bronco whether or not there are lights down near the running board or the floorboard of the car? Do you recall that?
I can't really recall if the light was on or if the light was off, if there was a light bulb. I can't honestly say that there was,
I'm sorry. Is
that
that
there
something you
was,
weren't
or
paying attention to?
I wasn't paying attention to it.
And you did not drive that vehicle, did you?
No keys.
All right, now, she also asked you a question about looking at the console. On any of the 3 occasions that you stepped inside that particular vehicle, did you ever look at the console over to the right of the driver's compartment and look at the console?
Briefly, just
All
a
right.
glance.
And when you glanced over to the right at the console, did you ever see any blood at that time?
I'd have seen the blood.
Did you see any blood?
No, I didn't.
And Mr. Meraz, you were actually looking for blood, isn't that correct?
This is correct.
And you knew what blood looked like before June 15th of 1994, isn't that correct?
Yes,
You also pointed out to us that the floor mat was missing, isn't that correct?
that's correct.
There any doubt in your mind at all that when you looked inside that vehicle on those 3 occasions, that you did not see any blood inside that vehicle?
I didn't see any blood. I'd have known.
Now, you were asked some questions about your lawyers. You understand you have an absolute constitutional right in this country still to have lawyers?
This is true.
Now, Ms. Clark asked you some questions about these fine lawyers who are here. Who referred these lawyers to you? Tell the jury.
My fiance worked with another woman at her place, and she got them through her, and that's how I got them.
Did anybody from the defense, Mr. Shapiro, myself, Mr. Scheck, Mr. Neufeld, Mr. Blazer, Mr. Douglas, did any of us ever at any time refer you to a lawyer?
No, not at no time.
All right, these lawyers came through your fiance, is that correct?
That's correct.
And why did you get lawyers at that time?
I was being hammered very hard by the press because of I towing the Bronco, and they made me look out to be like a monster, that I ransacked the car and I did this. I never did it.
So you got a lawyer? Or lawyers?
Yes, to protect myself.
Is that what lawyers are supposed to do?
That's what lawyers are supposed to do.
Did you ransack the inside of the Bronco?
No, no.
You took 2 vouchers, is that correct?
2 vouchers.
And you returned those vouchers?
I returned those vouchers back.
When is the last time you saw those vouchers?
Last time I seen them was the 15th of June at about 5 o'clock in the afternoon when I put them back in there. I've never seen them since.
You know who took them?
No, I don't. I wish I did.
You didn't take them.
No.
You tried to profit from your knowledge of this case by selling your story to programs like Hard Copy or Current Affair?
No, I haven't.
You've not done that?
No, I haven't.
Not writing a book, are you?
No, no.
You're maintaining a lawsuit, try to get your job back or to get some compensation?
Yes, this is true. It's true.
Have you told this jury the truth about what happened on June 15th of 1994?
Yes, I have.
Do you have any axe to grind in this case, one way or the other?
No.
You think testifying in this case is going to help you get your job back with Vertels? You don't think that, do you?
I doubt that very much.
And you are here pursuant to a search warrant. Strike that. You're here pursuant to a subpoena to testify, isn't that correct?
That's correct.
We never issued a search warrant for you, did we? Issued a subpoena for you, is that right?
That's right.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have nothing
Thank
further
you,
to say.
Counsel.
People's 528? No. People's 528, Your Honor. When I showed you this photograph on cross-examination just a short time ago, Mr. Meraz, you conceded that that looked like print dust on the door, correct?
From where I am, yes.
Well,
Looking at the picture, yes.
let's zoom in. Does that help you, sir?
It helped me before.
And does it help you now?
I,
Does that look like print?
Overruled.
Does that look like print dust to you?
yes, it does.
Back out. And when I cross-examined you earlier this morning, sir, you conceded that this was the print shack where you recovered the Bronco from on June the 15th, correct?
Well, it very well could be the print shed.
Or would you like to change that testimony now, sir?
No, I
To
wouldn't.
indicate you're unsure?
So it is. Rephrase the question.
When you answered the question earlier this morning, you told us that that was the print shack from which you recovered the Bronco on June the 15th, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Do you want to change that testimony now, sir?
I don't want to change anything.
That is the print shack from which you recovered the Bronco then on June the 15th, isn't it, sir?
I'm saying now it looks like it.
You're saying now it looks like it. You're unwilling now to say that it is.
Could well be the print shed.
So, Mr. Meraz, are you going to change your testimony from this morning and say could well be? Or are you going to stick with the testimony you gave us this morning and say it is?
It is. Rephrase the question.
Does that look like the print shack, sir, from which you recovered the Bronco on June the 15th?
It could well be the print shed.
How many times have you been in that print shack over the years that you've worked at Vertel's?
Several times.
Several?
Yes.
You've been there 20 years?
Yes.
How many times per week did you go to that print shack?
It would vary. Sometimes I wouldn't go. Sometimes
Give us an
I would.
average.
An average? Could well be 4 or 5 times a year.
4 or 5 times a year you
Yes.
go to the print shack?
Yes.
You are an official police garage?
Sustained.
You're an official police garage, are you not, Vertel's?
At least when I was there, yes.
Yes. And official police garages recover cars and vehicles from that print shack on a fairly regular basis, don't they, sir?
Not true.
You would only go there 4 or 5 times a year?
Myself,
Yourself. All right, let's assume that's true. 4 or 5 times a year for 20 years.
Sustained. It is.
That's also beyond the scope of,
It is not. It's not.
5 times a year for 20 years. Correct? So you've been to that print shack at least 100 times, isn't that right?
That assumes the fact that it was a
print shack that
was there 20 years ago.
Overruled.
well, 20 years ago,
This is the problem with speaking objections, Your Honor.
It is. Proceed.
Has Mr. Cochran now informed you how you should answer the question, sir?
Sustained.
Would it be fair to say that you've been in that print shack about 100 times, Mr. Meraz?
I couldn't give you a count. I'm just giving you a number per year.
And would it be fair to say that all told, you've been in that print shack over 100 times?
First of all, I don't know when it existed there.
Can you
Oh.
answer the question?
Repeat it again, please.
During the time you've been employed at Bertel's, would it be fair to say that over the entire time you've been employed there, you've been in that print shack at least 100 times?
For me to say over 100 times, I can't honestly say that because I really don't know.
How about 80, Mr. Meraz?
I can't give you a number because I really don't know. And I'm being honest with you.
Was June the 15th the last time you were in the print shack?
That was the last time, yes.
It was certainly not the first.
That wasn't the first, no.
And that looks like the print shack that's in this photograph, doesn't it, sir?
It could well be, yes.
And the dust and the dirt that you saw on the driver's side door looks like print dust, doesn't it, sir?
It looks like it, yes.
And when you were confronted with this photograph and during cross-examination this morning, you admitted that you were wrong when you testified earlier that you did not see print dust on the door of the Bronco.
Misstates the evidence, Your Honor.
Overruled.
Do you recall that?
I recall that, yes.
Do you wish to change that too now,
I
sir?
wish not to change anything.
Do you admit now that still that you were wrong about not seeing print dust on the door of the Bronco?
Sustained. Let's move on.
Can I have one moment, Your Honor? Do you know someone by the name of Mark Lasky?
Excuse me.
You know someone by the name of Mark Lasky?
Not Lasky, no.
He's a limousine driver, Mr. Meraz.
I don't know a limousine driver.
You don't know any limousine drivers?
No.
It is.
Thank you. I have nothing further.
Now, with regard to this photograph that the counsel is asking you about, that photograph was allegedly taken on the 14th of June. You didn't see that white Bronco on the 14th, is that correct? You didn't see the white Bronco on June 14th, 1994, did you?
No, I didn't see it on the 14th.
You
no.
saw it on the 15th, is that correct?
That's correct.
All you can tell Ms. Clark and this jury is how it appeared to you on June 15th, is that correct?
That's correct.
And with regard to this garage being an OPG, are there other drivers, Vertil's have other drivers who also came to the print shed, not shack?
Through the years, yes.
All right. And with regard to that, you weren't the only one who went there, is that correct?
This is true.
All right, I have nothing further.
Ms. Clark. All right, Mr. Meraz, thank you very much, sir. You're excused. Next witness.
Thank you very kindly, Your Honor.
have your next witness en route. What was Mr. Walsh's first name? Mr. Cochran?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Walsh's first name?
Richard Walsh, Your Honor.
Richard.
Thank you. Right down now.
And is Mr. Walsh your witness, Mr. Cochran?
Yes, Your Honor. He was outside, apparently went back upstairs, so on his way down.
Sure, sure.
this particular exercise video?
Yes, for several months prior to that.
And you were doing this for what entity of what company?
Playboy was the producers and the backers.
All right, and they asked you to help with this, is that correct?
Correct. They saw me on July 4th of 1993. I had a cable exercise TV show, and they happened to see me and had me in and talked about the idea and the concept, and they hired me. Then we actually made the contract in early 1994.
All right, and is that your occupation as a fitness expert?
Not a fitness expert.
And
I'm a
you are
fitness instructor. In my
fitness
opinion, an expert is somebody who is an MD or a PhD in the exercise field. And I happen to just be a fitness instructor. I've been doing that for 16 years. I've done a number of video projects, TV shows, and so forth. But on the video projects and TV shows that I'm involved with, we always make sure we hire an expert who is either an MD or PhD, and he critiques every move I do and every word I say, and those are the experts.
All right. Now, so that when you met with O.J. Simpson regarding this particular project, is that correct?
Correct.
Did you become aware in meeting with Mr. Simpson of any physical limitations that he had?
Quite a few.
What
Quite a
did you
few.
become aware of?
Well,
Foundation.
How, in the course of your meeting with Mr. O.J. Simpson, did you have occasion to talk with him about any physical limitations that he had? He answered that yes or no?
yes.
And did you have occasion, in writing this video, did you have to write it in such a way that there were things to be performed that he could do in that video?
Sustained. Phrase the question.
Sir, in writing the video, did you have to take into account Mr. O.J. Simpson's physical limitations, if any?
Did I have to, or
Yes.
did I?
Did you?
Yes, I did.
And why did you do that?
Well, when we began, first time I met him, we discussed his situation, his injuries.
It is the same. Ask another question.
Certainly. When you first met him, did you have occasion to learn about some injuries that he had?
Yes.
Well, he can answer that yes or no.
Overruled.
Thank you. So you learned about some injuries that he had, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And were these injuries that he had, were they restricted to any particular part of his body? Can you answer that yes or no?
Yes.
And can you describe for the jury what you observed regarding Mr. Simpson's body and/or injuries?
Objection. He is not an expert.
Overruled.
You may answer.
Excuse me. Well, he was sitting when I met him, and then he was a little concerned about the type of.
Sustained. It is.
You describe for us the injuries that you became aware of.
Objection. One further question.
Overruled. You can answer the question. What kind of injuries did you become aware of?
His knee, his hand, shoulder. Can I keep going?
Yes?
Yes.
He talked about sore lower back.
Wait, wait.
Can I keep going?
What did you personally become aware of through your own observations?
Well, initially, he was sitting. And so when.
Well, I assume this relationship went on through making the video.
Well, I thought we were talking about the first time.
No.
Okay.
no.
No, you can kind of save some time and tell us all the things you became aware of.
Okay, I became aware eventually of his knee, his back, his lower back in particular, his shoulder. He also spoke of some ankle problems.
Objection.
Sustained. Answer stricken.
Which portion, the last part?
Ankle.
Okay.
But it's in the other record from Dr. Heisinger.
Sure, sure. At any point, did you ever notice any other parts that you actually noticed of his body?
When he stuck out his hand to shake hands.
Or what'd you notice about that?
His hand was looked like it was half closed.
Did you find that unusual?
I thought it was unusual.
All right, now, after you had this initial contact over a period of time with Mr. Simpson, did you have any doubt as to whether or not he was the right candidate for this video?
Objection. Leading.
Overruled.
Was there any question in your mind about whether O.J. Simpson was the candidate for this, the proper candidate?
It's irrelevant then, Your Honor.
Overruled.
Yes, I did.
And what were your doubts, sir, if any?
I thought he was too physically limited to be the co-host with me,
And why did you think that?
because I knew the type of tape that I was making needed, not somebody real physically fit, but it needed someone who had the ability to at least be mobile laterally, forward and back, using upper body muscle groups and so forth.
Did you notice anything about Mr. Simpson's ability to move laterally or from side to side?
It was pretty limited.
Now, At some point, despite your reservations about Mr. Simpson's abilities here, did you proceed with the project with him?
Yes, we did.
And this particular video that we've seen or seen parts of, that was shot during the month of May of 1994?
Correct. The actual shooting day of most of the video that you've seen has been on May 27th of, May 25th, 1994. We tried to shoot the exercise segment in one day.
All right, and was any particular reason why you tried to shoot the exercise segment in one day?
Yes.
And why was that?
Oh, well, you can answer the question.
We tried to shoot in one day because through the course of preparing for the video, we didn't know if he would make it, and two, if he did make it, would he be available to work the next day? Can I continue on about rehearsals? No.
No, next
All right.
question.
So you had this concern, so you tried to do it all in one day?
Yes.
All right. Did you want to prescribe any kind of rehearsals so that you have a track practice day one day and then do it the next day?
I had rehearsal schedules for the group behind me. There were 4 people behind OJ and I, and then rehearsal schedules, OJ and I got together once or twice.
Okay, now, did OJ ever come dressed and participate in any rehearsals regarding this video?
No.
And did you ascertain why not?
Yes.
Why?
Objection, you're saying.
Sustained.
Well, let me ask it this way. Did you ever request Mr. Simpson to come for a dress rehearsal, as it were?
Did I just,
Ask him to do it?
no, I just assumed that he would show up
All right.
ready to exercise.
And did he show up?
He showed up,
All right, when he showed up, how was he dressed?
street clothes.
Did you have a conversation with him
Yes,
as to
I
why
did.
he was in street clothes?
Yes, I did.
You did? And did the subject matter of that concern his physical limitations, if any?
Sustained.
All right, describe for this jury what you saw when you saw O.J. show up for the dress rehearsal.
What I saw or
Yes,
what I
what you
said?
saw and what you observed.
I saw him dressed in street clothes.
All right, and what'd you say?
I asked,
Sustained.
So did you have a conversation with O.J. Simpson at that point?
yes.
And in relation to May 25th, when was this dress rehearsal?
I may be wrong, but I think it was May 24th, the day before.
All right. And at any rate, did Mr. Simpson participate in the dress rehearsal on May 24th or whatever day it was?
Not really.
All right.
He,
and what did he do? if
he
anything?
watched a little bit. He tried on the clothes that he was going to wear the next day. He kind of moved a little bit, but that was about it. I mean, almost to the point of not really,
All right.
hardly at all.
Now, on May 25th or thereabouts, did you then come back and assemble the group to shoot the particular video?
That was the first day of shooting.
All right. And with regard to that, do you do something unusual before you start a workout and before you're going to be on camera? You do something unusual for yourself?
You're letting out all my secrets here. Yes, I do.
Well, if you can tell us, and I guess everybody will know soon, what do you do before you start?
Objection, Your Honor. It's irrelevant.
It's relevant, Jim. I'll link it up.
You can answer the question.
Okay. Usually when I'm about to do a video project or a TV project, and the outfit usually is a tank top or a leotard of some type. If you've ever been on a TV set or a video set or movie set, there's these big lights and there's these reflector boards. And holding these reflector boards and lights down are big sandbags. And I always walk over the sandbags right before we're about to shoot. And I grab a couple of them and I start lifting like this, and it gives you kind of a false size of your arms. It makes the arms a little bit bigger, makes the veins come out, so when we go on the set and begin filming, you look a little bit, as the word would be, pumped up.
All right, so when you were making a motion with your hands, as though you were doing curls with these bags?
Right, I was doing curls with the sandbags.
All right, and while you were doing curls on this particular date of May 25th, did O.J. Simpson come over to where you were?
Yes, he did.
And describe what you observed at that point.
Well, he first asked what I was doing, and I told him, this is a secret. You don't tell anybody this. This is my own secret. And so he grabbed a couple of the bags, and I told him about how it makes the arms look bigger. And he was standing with no back support. And I was doing curls, and, I'm not a strong man, but the bags probably weighed anywhere from 20 to 30 pounds. And I was doing a good amount of repetitions, and he's put it in his hand, and much to my surprise, he couldn't even lift it. He couldn't do one bicep curl.
And how many curls were you doing with these? You talked about reps. Reps stand for repetitions. Is that
Repetitions,
correct?
correct.
And how many of the?
Mr. Walsh, if you would you allow Mr. Cochran to finish asking you the question before you start to answer? The reason is the court reporter tries to take down the testimony, it can only take one person at a time. All right, so take a breath, let him finish answering the question. That way we don't have to do too many reps.
And I'm sure she can see from the videotape that I am a
Yes.
man of many words.
Yes, proceed.
With regard to these reps, how many of these reps did you do, sir?
Probably about 20.
And how many did you see O.J. Simpson do, if any?
I didn't see him do any. He got about halfway up, and then he needed a little assistance. So.
All right, now, in the course of your preparing or shooting the video that day, did you ever have occasion to either touch or bump into Mr. Simpson at all?
There was one situation, it was at a break, whether they're relighting or redoing cameras or whatever it was, and they asked us to stay on the floor, stay in our spots, because as you saw the videotape, each person has a spot, and
Yeah, he's responding, seems to me. You can please answer.
Proceed.
You may proceed, sir.
okay. So everybody has a spot, and so you kind of stay right there, and all of a sudden I looked at OJ, and he was kind of coming at me like he was carrying a football, kind of like this, but just kind of moving slow. And as he got near me, I just kind of took my elbow like a football player would and kind of hit him, but very, very lightly.
And when you struck his body at that point?
Like his elbow or shoulder or arm or something like that.
Did you see his reaction when that happened?
He started literally flying. I mean, not flying in the air, but he started jumping around and hobbling, and he started screaming, my knee, my knee.
Overruled. Proceed.
So he started,
Wait. Next question. This is not a narrative, this is question and answer. Ask the next question.
All right. At that point, this happened during a break on the set that day, is that correct?
not necessarily a break, just in between shots, in between takes.
All right. And did he, as you observed Mr. Simpson, did he seem to be kidding at that point with you?
I think he was kidding.
Overruled.
Seemed to be kidding with you at that point?
He was kidding up to that point, and then as I gave him a little elbow bump, he was no longer kidding. This is
All right. Now, with regard to this video, we saw some video here in court over the course of the last couple of days. And were there times between the video when there were breaks while you reset up and started over various things?
yes.
And do you recall what, if anything, Mr. Simpson would do during these breaks, during the times when the camera wasn't on? Do you recall, was there a chair for him or anything of that nature?
Towards the end, there was a chair for him.
Okay, describe that for the court and jury, what you observed.
Well, towards the end, when the chair came out, it was after one situation.
All right. Well, we'll get back to that situation. Tell us about the chair.
Okay, when the chair came out, we kind of were on a set. Might have been lifted, I don't know, 12, 14 inches off the ground. It was a hardwood floor, so it gives you the feeling of being inside a gym or inside a fitness studio. And when we would take a break toward the end of the day, because it was somewhere around a 12 or 14, maybe even 15-hour day of doing this, they would put a chair right up there so he wouldn't even have to walk down, and they'd slap some ice bags on him.
And where would ice bags?
Ice bags.
And where would these ice bags be placed?
Definitely the knee. I think I even saw one from time to time on the shoulder.
You recall seeing that?
Yes, definitely the knee, and I think they had one that they were even rubbing on his shoulder, his arm or something.
And this would be between the shots.
This would be, right, as we would do things, a run-through, and as you saw in the video, anytime it came to a push-ups, we did 3 rounds. And so when you got to the push-ups, that was end of round 1. And you do round 1 2 or 3 or 4 times, and when you work with me, you do it as many times as you possibly can, because we'd shoot it with 3 cameras, and I think might even used a 4th camera in some shots. And the more footage you have, it makes editing a little more difficult, but gives you an opportunity to have better production, a better quality video in case you missed a shot.
And that's when you get down to the finished product. Is that correct?
Correct.
Now, during the course of this day that you've described, where you're trying to shoot all in one day, was there a period of time when you could not do anything for an hour or 2 period of time?
We had one problem. I'd rather not get into that, the actual nature of the problem. But there was a situation where we had to take about a 2-hour break.
All right. And during that 2-hour break, was there a problem with Mr. Simpson?
Yeah, he had mentioned,
Sustained.
Well, with regard to Mr. Simpson's physical abilities, did you notice any difference in him after a 2-hour cool-down period of time? Can you tell us about that? You can answer that.
He had mentioned that if,
Sustain.
All right, you have to tell us what you observed.
okay, I observed as we began, he could hardly function.
Now, you're talking about after the 2-hour period of time?
Correct.
All right, describe for us the difference between when you stopped and when you started some 2 hours later, in your own words.
I know what it was, but do you want me to, just to say what it was, or?
Just tell us what it was.
Okay.
Rephrase the question, Counsel.
All right, would you describe for us in your own words what you observed with Mr. Simpson after he started
Okay.
up after this 2 hours?
In the beginning, prior to the 2 hours, he was a little bit more mobile. You know, not near as mobile as, you know, like a lot of the people who are in the video. But after the 2-hour break, he was very, very tight.
And how did this tightness manifest itself, if you can describe that for us?
Overruled.
Sometimes when muscles are warm and loose when you're exercising and you sit for a while, like sometimes even if you get off an airplane or out of your car after a long ride and you get out, you're very stiff and you're very tight. And that was what I observed.
All right, now, you didn't see Mr. Simpson the day after he shot this video, did you, the day after the 26th of May? Did you?
Yes, I did.
Did you see him? Did you notice anything about how you appeared on that date?
I didn't spend a lot of time speaking with him that day.
All right. Now, at the end of the day, at the end of the time you finished this particular shoot, can you describe for us again your observations of him and his appearance at that time and how he appeared to you?
Relieved. I mean, he's exhausted and relieved. I think everybody was pretty tired at the end of that day.
All right, now, with regard to this video, you, of course, have seen the finished product that is merchandised, is that correct?
I have seen the finished product.
Okay.
Right.
And there were also some rough cuts or some so-called
Outtakes.
outtakes, is that correct? And in that connection, I'd like you, prior to your coming to the stand today, I ask you to show us or to look at a particular portion of the video, which I don't think we've seen thus far. I don't want to spend much time for the jury, but is there a particular portion where you're doing some stretching exercises?
Correct.
And does this stretching exercises show Mr. Simpson attempting to stretch?
Correct.
And I'm going to ask now, Your Honor, I think I'm going to find out this has been marked. This is part of the Exhibit 124, I believe, Your Honor. 124.
My understanding is that it wasn't part of
As will I.
It's Exhibit number 521.
Proceed.
And is this queued up, Mr. Harris? All right, I'm going to ask you and the jury to take a look at a particular portion of Exhibit 521, which is one of the people's exhibits, and I'm going to ask you some questions about it.
No, it's with the sound.
Just like it was when Mr. Culver played, Your Honor?
With the sound. Proceed.
Yeah, this is how I kind of do. Good, let's hold it right here. Now, we're just going to take the shoulder up in the air. We're just doing some stretching for lower back and lats and a warm-up.
Stretch, just put it in holding it. Let's bring it back center. We're just going to open up this inner thigh area.
All right,
Before
wait a
we
minute.
warm up, we want to warm up the
15,
entire
50.
joint in all planes and directions. Let's bring it back center. We're going to take the other shoulder up in the air.
I think you'd be amazed if you just did this every morning, how much better you'll feel.
I agree. Let's go back center and open up the other inner thigh. You don't have to be low here. Just bring this knee forward and keep your spine parallel to the floor. You keep it way up here. Okay, let's roll this up. Now the calf. Now, we talked about those calves before. Before we get going on aerobic activity of any type, running, jogging, or walking, we want to be loose there. Let's bring her down to what I call the OJ stance right here. All we're doing on an OJ stance is dropping this hip a little bit. Open up that hip flexor. You don't have to be low again. Okay, let's bring a change. We're going to go to the hamstring right here. We're just going to take the toe.
Here it is, I think.
I have any problem with that because of my knees.
Okay,
so-
let's bring the arm up here.
Can you stop it there? All right, now, what, if anything, happened when he tried to do this particular exercise we're demonstrating now?
He has an inability to stretch in this position. What we're doing is extending as you can see from the people behind him, we're extending the left hamstring with the heel on the floor and the toe up as we prepare to do the activity so we can loosen the hamstring, loosen the lower back, and avoid pulled muscles. He cannot seem to bend either the left or right knee. And in part of writing this, I used some of his injuries and wrote alternative ways of working out. If you think about the people in the world, everybody may have a shoulder problem, an elbow problem, a knee problem. That doesn't exclude them from exercising. There should be alternative ways of exercising. That's something I tried to bring to the forefront in this video.
All right, so you were aware of these limitations and tried to write that into it, is that correct?
Right, this was a hamstring stretch from a standing position that we're going to put him in.
All right, Your Honor, so the record is clear, we're at 15:51:43 at this point. We've stopped it. And
Yes.
you tell us how much further this goes on, this
Okay.
particular stretch aspect.
Do you mind if I let it go for like an hour?
Huh? Well, no, maybe I don't think the judge and the jury would like that, so we'll go just as long as it's relevant.
All right.
All right, we'll proceed on.
Just straighten this leg and pull her back.
Okay.
That's real good. That's all you have to do. Good, let's bring her down.
Now, can
We're
I
gonna
stop
go
right there?
push-
There's a lady who seems to be in very good shape right behind Mr. Simpson. Is she doing it the way you'd want a particular participant to do it in?
She's doing it the correct way.
Okay, and then you have to characterize that with the way Mr. Simpson is doing it?
Right.
All right, may continue on.
Tight abdominals, tight.
I think that's the end of the
That aspect
stretching
of it?
portion. Yeah,
All
we're
right.
going to push-ups here.
Now, there are, I presume, other stretching scenes which are pretty illustrative of what we just saw. Is that right?
I believe so.
And would further indicate the problems that he was having on that date?
I believe so.
All right, well, I don't want to bore the jury, so I'm going to skip down to something else. Is that all right with you?
It's fine with me.
Okay, is that all right with you, Your Honor? I knew you'd say that. I want to now, in addition to this video, and we've seen a lot of this particular video in the aerobics part of it, was there also a part where Mr. Simpson sits behind a desk and talks about kind of sedentary exercises and things like that?
Right, there's a scene from an office, a simulated office, where part of the tape, the first half hour of the tape, or 30 minutes, whatever it was aerobic activity, and the second half hour of the tape was little segments of things you can do to stay loose or physically fit a little bit while you're in the office or on an airplane or in a hotel room or so forth.
And then we're going to ask Mr. Harris to cue up, first of all, I think, the airplane scene, Your Honor. And I'm not sure, Your Honor, this has been marked yet? This is not marked, so I'd like to mark this as the defendant's next in order, if the court pleases.
All right, is this the commercial video itself?
I think this is part of the commercial video. Commercial video, yes, Your Honor. The next two will be, Your Honor.
All right.
It'll be 1255.
12:55.
We'll make this 1255. All right. And I'm going to ask you to take a look at 1255, this particular portion of the video, and tell us what's taking place.
Okay.
Harris?
Of experience. An example of a day I had not long ago is that I started the day in New York. I had to be in Chicago for a breakfast meeting and a little talk. I had to go to Denver to interview a player. I had to go to Dallas to interview a couple of his former teammates, and I was back in New York by midnight. Now, that's an extreme example, but normally I'm on a plane 3 or 4 times a week. So an airplane in many cases is like my home away from home, and this seat quite often is my office away from my office. Now, over the years, I've had plenty of opportunity to develop some tips about airplane travel. One, and probably most importantly, is you should drink 6 or 8 ounces of water for every hour you're in the air. This will cut down on dehydration, which is one of the major causes of jet lag. Now, occasionally I'll have a beer on the plane, but I try to stay away from hard liquor or caffeine drinks because they also tend to dehydrate me. You go easy on those free peanuts because they're loaded with fat. When I can, I'll order a special meal in advance, usually a vegetable plate or fruit or low cholesterol. When I have a long flight and know that I'm going to be arriving in some town late, I try to plan ahead, try to map out my schedule so I don't eat too late and go to bed on a full stomach. Now, if you can, book an aisle seat. That'll give you more room, it's easier access to get up and walk around. And try not to cross your legs, because that can restrict circulation. Now, there's a lot of exercises that you can do on an airplane and in an airplane seat, which is similar to the ones you saw us do in the office. Now, let's start with a simple one, the neck rotation. You know, very simple. Don't disturb anyone, just get it going. Get those shoulders going, a little shoulder rotation, back and forth. Try to get that blood circulation going. You can stretch a little bit, stretch the upper body by reaching for a light. You know, or reaching for the air, that's not too bad. Here's one that's really kind of funny. It's called the buttock squeeze. I'm not going to really show it to you, but if you sit behind a guy and you see his head doing that, you can bet he's doing the buttock squeeze. And then the leg stretch. For me, this is the most important. My legs really get stiff. You just take both feet, you put it underneath the seat in front of you. Try to stay constant. You don't want to disturb the person there. It's like isometrics. Just get that blood going. And then there's a heel roll. Put your feet flat on the ground. And this is for that Achilles, you know. Oh, that shoe back there. Just get that heel going, toes up, you know. Now, keep in mind, the longer you're on a flight, the more often you should get up to avoid stiffness and help circulation and just energize your body. Now, Richard is going to show you some of the exercises you can do if you find the opportunity to stand on an airplane.
Richard, who's he talking about?
Me.
All right. And then you then proceed to do some exercises where you're standing?
Correct.
Is that correct? On the plane?
Correct.
All right. And did you write the portion that Mr. Simpson gave there also?
I wrote the exercises.
Wrote the exercises? And when you talked to Mr. Simpson about his participation in the video, did he want to participate in this kind of video as opposed to the aerobics kind?
Sustain.
We can't answer that. All right. Now, there was still a further one. And Mr. Can you find that? All right. He's going to try to get the last segment here. With regard, you mentioned earlier there was a scene in a simulated office. Is that correct?
Correct.
And what is depicted in this scene at the simulated office, if you recall?
I recall he did a bunch of exercises that you can do. Most of them are from stretching positions that you could do if you were in a coat and tie in the office where you wouldn't really perspire a lot. And sometimes sitting for extended periods of time, again, makes you feel tired and groggy. And if you implement a few of these exercises when you're in your office, you tend to be a little bit more awake and have a little bit more life about you.
And did you write this also?
The exercise again.
All right, the exercise you did. And with regard to that, if Mr. Harris can get to it shortly, how long is that aspect? How long is that one?
That one, if I remember, I think that might have been the longest of them all. Might have been like 4 minutes.
About 4 minutes?
About 4 minutes.
All right. Now, with regard to other anecdotal information, did you have any other particular anecdotes or any other things that occurred during the course of this day with Mr. Simpson? We've talked about the chairs, sitting on the chairs and the ice,
All right.
and the bags. Any other anecdotal things of that nature?
Sustain. Rephrase the question.
All right. Did anything else happen with regard to Mr. Simpson that you observed and his physical limitations on that date?
Not that I can recall right now.
You're still getting there, yeah. With regard to the other people who participated in this video, there were some ladies in the background
2 women,
and 2 men,
2 men.
plus yourself. Now, were those people who were fairly physically fit?
The women were in pretty good shape, as were the men, but due to the nature of the concept of the video, which was we were going to target the men's market, and one study that I saw indicated that as many as 50% of the men in America are sedentary. So we didn't want to come back with a real hard-hitting video, nor did we want to come in with a video where everybody was in great shape. And so the men were kind of what we called an everyday man.
Everyday man?
And like an everyday man, not bad shape, not great shape.
All right.
In fact, well, go ahead.
The women were in better shape than the men, weren't they?
The women were in a little bit better shape.
And the women, maybe a sensitive subject, what was the general age of the women in that video?
I would say, no disrespect to them, but I would say they were 30 to 35.
All right. And with regard to you, you were kind of the leader of that video, right?
Correct.
And at the time this video was shot last May, were you just a tick under 40?
It's a lot under 40.
Were you 39?
Yes.
Is that a lot under 40?
Yeah.
All right. So you're just under 40. All right. And the other men who were in the video, their approximate
Actually, I
age?
take that back. It's 38.
38? All right. You're 39 now?
No, I'm 40 now, but we shot it in May.
All right. Now, with regard to the other men in the video, approximately how old were they?
Once again, I would say 33 to 40.
All right. I think Mr. Harris has this now. Can you take a look at this and tell us what we're looking at?
Now, most of us spend 8 or 10 hours right here at work, in an office, behind the desk. Now, just because we're wearing a shirt and tie doesn't mean we should ignore our health and our fitness. Now, obviously, these aren't the best clothes to get sweaty in, but here's an at-work workout you can do to help you get through the day. I guarantee you, you're not going to work up a big sweat. Now, anytime you get a little stressed out, calm yourself by taking a few deep breaths. Inhale through your nose. Exhale through your mouth. Now here's a 5-minute routine. You can do that will increase your circulation, relieve some tension, reduce some stress, and hopefully lead to a more productive day. Now we're going to start with some shoulder shrugs. Okay, very simple. You just want to do about 6 or 8 of these. Get some of that tension out of your neck. All right. Then we'll move to an upper back stretch. Lock those fingers, push them out there, and keep your back straight if you can. Oh, yes. Feel pretty good, doesn't it? How about some chest contractions? Take your arms, interlock them. And you don't want to squeeze your arms down. Just push that chest out there, all right? Oh, yeah, like that, okay? Now let's work on the other parts of our bodies. Let's go to our lower back stretch, all right? Pull the leg up. Try to lean into it. Stretch that lower back, honey, like that. Oh, yeah. And we'll get both legs in this time, okay? How about some leg extensions and some hamstrings, you know? Just extend the leg. Work on that quad, tighten it up a little bit. Pull back that hamstring. Most of these exercises you just want to get 8 to 10 seconds. They're not long. As I said, we're not working up a sweat here. We're just trying to get that blood flowing, okay? Some ankle flexions and extensions. Just extend that ankle out there. Extend it out good. Roll it around a little bit. All right. Get them both in there. It's good. Get that ankle nice and loose, okay? How about some bicep and isometrics? Now, this is not recommended if you're a hypertensive person. So you can just avoid this one. Just get at your desk. Get those hands in there. And a little isometrics. Just pull up a little bit, huh? How good does that feel? Huh? Let's get the blood going, huh? Yeah, all right. Now let's make up for this. We've been sitting at that computer all day. We're messing around with that typewriter, writing.
We got the idea. Now, with regard to this particular, did you again write the exercises for Mr. Simpson at this point?
Yeah, once again, I kind of routine the exercise program with the doctor's seal of approval.
All right.
Always.
And you got the doctor's approval before you did it, is that right?
On every one of them. I'll repeat it every time if you need me to, but just so you know that the expert did approve everything I wrote, and there were many changes.
On the plane situation, in the travel situation, did Mr. Simpson participate in helping to write that because he travels so much?
He may have had some of the speaking parts he may have put in on his own.
Some ad libs?
Sure. And maybe he put in a little bit of it. I did the actual exercises, and where the dialogue came from may have been put in by him, may have been put in by another writer.
All right. Now, you've come here to testify today pursuant to subpoena, is that correct? Or request from the defense?
Yes, I have.
All right. And you've talked to the prosecution before this, have you not?
Yes, I have.
And you cooperated with them when they came to talk to you?
Yes, I did.
They tape record that statement?
Yes, they did.
They tape recorded?
Yes.
When was that you talked to them?
I don't remember the date, but I remember Cato Kalin was on the stand because we were watching that from my house.
And they came out to see you, and who came out to talk to you?
I believe it was Dana Thompson and one other gentleman.
And they tape recorded your statement?
Yes, they did.
Very well. Thank you very kindly. I have nothing further at this point, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Darden? And Mr. Darden, we're going to break at 1:45.
Finish my report. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
You've been talking an awful lot about Mr. Simpson and your experience with him during the shooting of that video, haven't you?
I have done some. I also, can I continue?
Is the answer yes?
Yes, with an explanation.
Well, You've been on Geraldo twice?
Yes.
Geraldo.
The guy back there, Geraldo Rivera, you've been on this show
Correct.
twice? There's someone named Richard Prager,
Yes.
Inside Edition,
Yes.
American Journal.
Yes.
Okay. Any other tabloid television programs?
Yes.
What others?
I believe Extra Magazine also, but I need to explain also why. Nope. And maybe like an after what's it called, union payment, but I have a contract to make appearances to promote the tape. So part of my contract states I have to make 10 appearances to promote the exercise tape.
Is this
My reason for being on there was to talk about the exercise tape.
is this considered one of those appearances to promote the tape?
Overruled.
Actually, I don't even know if the tape is out anymore. To be honest with you, I'll tell you what happened. Playboy has sold the tape to some other people, and I have no idea if the tape is out. I haven't spoke with them for a long time. What I understand was the major outlets did not take it, so to the best of my knowledge, and I did have a call the other day where they could get their hands on the tape, and my answer is I have no idea. So I don't think it's on the market. So you have not seen me on TV for, I think maybe Geraldo was the last time I was on, because that's when the tape switched hands and it never ended up in the markets. So I don't need to go on anymore.
And you've also given a number of interviews to journalists, right? News journalists?
Newspaper, correct?
Okay. Gave an interview to the Los Angeles Times?
Yes.
Okay. Now, this was your first time meeting the defendant, is that right?
First time was, yes, early '94.
Okay. This was the first time you'd ever worked out with him, that is during the latter part of May 1994.
No, we worked out in an office in Playboy in Beverly Hills in it's either late March or April. It wasn't a strenuous workout, but it was we kind of went through a little bit of what we would be doing.
Okay. Okay. Now, when you began your testimony today, you said that you weren't an expert, correct?
I am not an expert.
Okay. And you said an expert would be someone with a PhD?
Or an MD who specializes in the fitness field.
Okay. Someone like Dr. Heisinger, for instance?
I think Dr. Huizinga specializes in internal medicine.
Okay. So someone who was the team physician for the Los Angeles Raiders wouldn't qualify as an expert in your mind, is that correct?
It's irrelevant.
At any event, you don't hold yourself out as an expert, right?
I do not.
Okay, you're not a doctor.
No, I'm not.
What degrees do you hold?
None. I'm just literally a fitness instructor.
Okay. And prior to your joining Mr. Simpson on this Playboy video, you were on cable.
I was on cable.
Okay. And what cable network were you on?
Prime Ticket, Prime Network across the United States.
Okay. And you were doing a fitness show?
Exercise, half-hour exercise TV show.
Okay. And is that something that you still do?
No, it is not on at the moment.
You shot the aerobic segment of this video in one day.
Correct.
And when you say one day, you don't mean just in 8 hours, correct?
Correct.
It actually took you, what, 15 hours, 16 hours to shoot this video?
I don't know the exact time, but it was pretty high. Yeah, it was right out in that area.
Okay. And Mr. Simpson was present at the beginning of the video?
Yes.
And he was present at the end, is that correct?
Yes, he was.
Okay. And you described for us already some of his limitations, correct?
Correct.
And when you saw Mr. Simpson, you recognized those limitations, right? You recognized the fact that he had some limitations, right?
When I saw him,
Okay, well, when you saw him on the 27th, or 26th, rather.
25th, the day of the shooting.
Okay,
You're right. Sure. I knew of his limitations by that point.
okay. And you were concerned that he might not be able to make it through the video,
Right.
okay? He might not be able to make it through the shooting, right?
Yeah, in fact, I somewhat prepared for that.
But he did make it, didn't
Yes, he did.
he? You were surprised that he made it, correct?
Towards the end of the day, I wasn't anymore.
He convinced you that he could do it as the day went on, is that correct?
He convinced me that he would be able to do it. Correct.
Okay. Now, throughout the day, you and the defendant did a number of exercises, right?
Correct.
Okay. You did push-ups.
Yes.
You saw the defendant make punching motions,
Yes, I did.
And what do you call this thing where you twist your trunk all the way around?
That would just be like a lower back abdominal strengthening.
Okay, he did that. What other kinds of exercises did the defendant do that day?
We did a lot of, movements, as you saw, forward and backward movements, lateral movements. We did bending from the waist, bending from the knees. We did shoulder movements. We did lats and back. We did some bicep curls. We really covered, when you write a tape, something the doctor insisted I put in the tape is you train balance. And all that simply means is we're going to work the bicep, we have to work the tricep. If we're going to work the quad, you have to work the hamstring. You have to train a joint balance, otherwise you have a discrepancy in strength and flexibility about the joint. So there were many times when I'd write something down and we would tape me doing it and send it to the doctor, and he'd send it back with suggestions and corrections and so forth.
Okay.
So we did every muscle, not every muscle group of the body, but we did cover the body pretty much from head to toe at an entry-level position.
Okay, and Mr. Simpson did all of that.
Yes,
Okay. Now, Mr. Simpson was able to lift his arms over his head, correct?
correct.
Okay. He was able to lift his body up on his toes and on his hands and do push-ups, correct?
Correct.
He was able to stand on his toes.
Right, we have a point where it's a slow movement up and down because it activates the calf and Achilles tendon, which is a common injury in running and jogging and exercise.
Okay, and despite his limitations, he was able to extend his legs in sort of a runner stance.
Like the hamstring, the calf stretch and the hamstring stretch, yes.
Okay, and he was able to bend his knees.
Sure,
In a standing position, he was able to bend his knees.
right from the one you saw, the standing hamstring stretch.
Okay. So he just did a number of exercises that day, right?
We did quite a few, as you saw on the tape.
Now, there was a point around 7 or 8 o'clock that night when you became especially concerned as to whether or not the defendant could complete the video. Is that correct?
One part in particular, when we restarted after that 2-hour break,
Okay. And you were concerned at that time that he might not finish, right?
it was put to me that I wanted to do another run through in each area.
Okay. All right. So the answer is yes to my question?
Yes?
Okay. And you did something to help motivate the defendant. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yes, I did.
All right. To get him going, right? You issued a challenge.
Yes, I did.
You helped him set a goal, right?
You bet.
And that's because you figured in your own mind that if you could help him set a goal and issue a challenge, that he'd try to reach that goal, right?
Yes, I did.
You said something to the defendant, didn't you?
Yes.
What did you say to him?
I don't know exactly the word, but I said something to the effect that, well, let me start by saying this. We wanted to do all 3 rounds. And OJ said, listen, I'm good for 1 round. I've been sitting for a couple hours.
Okay. But tell me what you said.
Okay.
No, it's non-responsive, though.
What did you say to the defendant to motivate him and to help him set a goal?
Sustained.
State of mind, Your Honor, explain subsequent conduct.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this next question and answer is limited to the purpose only to explain the subsequent conduct, not for the truth of what was said.
What did you say to the defendant to motivate him and to help him set a goal?
Okay, after the first round, we got to push-ups. I got back on my feet, I started walking, and I looked at him, and I said something to the effect that, again, I don't know the exact words, but something to the effect that, geez, too bad you're not tough enough to make it through this. And I just kept walking, or something along that lines to try to motivate him, or kind of tease him a little bit that, I'm plenty strong enough to keep going, it's too bad you're not. And
Okay, so what did the defendant say to you after you teased him a little bit?
kind of looked at me and something, in fact, he said something like, let's go, let's do it. Something along those lines. Again, I don't know the exact words.
Okay. And you'd already been exercising something like 12 hours, is that correct?
That's no problem for me, yes.
You understand that in this case, we're concerned as to what happened within a matter of several seconds.
Sustained.
Okay, so the defendant said something like, or words to the effect of, let's go, come on, right?
The jury heard what the statement was.
All right. And did you and the defendant again begin exercising shortly thereafter?
Right.
Okay, and during the exercise, did you continue to say things to the defendant?
I kind of
You have to
need
answer yes or no.
Yes,
Okay. Did you needle him?
yes,
Did you challenge him?
yes,
And did he respond to those challenges?
yes,
And isn't it true that the more you needled this defendant and challenged this defendant, the more he responds?
yes, but I need to explain something about that. When you're hosting a show or an exercise tape like this, there has to be a certain amount of energy and kind of playing along with the audience and the people, and that's very important. That's part of every show and every activity that I'm involved in. Everything I host is kind of like, you kind of lead them along, you gear them along, you motivate them. It's like a coach sitting there saying, come on, you can do it, things along those lines. So yes, the answer to your question is correct, but because OJ and I were the only two speaking people in the tape, it was important that I kind of direct things at him. It wouldn't make a lot of sense to turn to one of the people behind me whose names you don't know or hear about and start talking with them.
It's a good time to break, Your Honor.
It is. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our mid-afternoon break. Remember all my admonitions to you. We'll be back in session at 3 o'clock. Mr. Walsh, you can step down and come back in 10 minutes. All right?
Completely,
Correct.
and he's punching out.
Right.
Now he's punching up.
Right.
Hands in a fist.
Yes.
Show you another portion from that same exhibit.
Overhead.
This is 1549-46. What is he doing here?
Extending arm overhead.
The arms, here we go.
Short lever, long lever.
Okay, and he was extending his arm completely in front of him and over his head.
Correct.
And that requires use of the major muscle groups in the shoulder and the back, right?
Shoulder, back, arms, lats. Correct.
Let me show you another segment.
All set. Start on the tape.
1548-45.
Bring it down center, hold down hard. Let's do it again.
He's able to extend his arms outward fully.
Right, we're going arms overhead like this, bring it down forward and extending down. It's a warm-up movement.
And you did warm up a little bit, is that right?
Yes, we did. Part of any type of activity is always should include a warm-up, and on our tape, of course, it was a 3 to 5 minute warm-up.
And I think it was your finding after watching the defendant warm up that the more he warmed up, the more limber he appeared. Is that correct?
That is correct.
The more he warmed up, the more he could do. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And he could do things easier, right?
Yes.
Now, there were times during this taping when you yourself felt a little winded. Is that right?
No, I don't think so, in all honesty. I mean, it may have been a little bit tired, mostly tired of talking maybe, but physically, no.
Okay. Is it more difficult to exercise and talk than it is to just exercise?
You bet. Overruled. Yes, it is. In fact, the project I'm hired for, mostly I'm hired hosting projects because of my mouth, not because of anything else. In fact, when Playboy hired me, they hired me because they said, though you're in shape, you have the appearance that people could look at you and say, geez, I could look like that, as opposed to someone who's so physically fit, they could, I'd never be able to look like that. So it's kind of a backhand compliment.
Okay. At any event, and you do talk, Mr. Walsh, but it is more difficult to exercise and talk while exercising.
Tremendous amount.
Okay.
Tremendously.
It takes a lot more aerobic
Conditioning.
conditioning.
Right.
And that's what the defendant did in this case, right? He exercised and he talked during those exercises.
Right. When you see the tape, if it would be like compared to a football game, I would be the play-by-play man, and then he would be the color commentator. He throws in the tidbits, and I throw in the foundation types.
You know, and to get back to those occasions when you would challenge the defendant and motivate him and help him set a goal, you concluded at some point that the defendant was really a gamer. Is that right?
Yes,
Okay. And that's the word you used, gamer.
I believe so.
Okay. And what did you mean by that?
Well, reached at the end of the day. We'd been going a long time. The two girls behind me were very physically fit and used to this type of activity. Nobody's used to 12 hours a day of exercise, but they were. Two men behind me, young men in their 30s, they were beat. I mean, they were gone. And they're in better shape, at least in my opinion, than OJ was. And there are times I thought he was not going to be able to finish. There are times I talked with Playboy prior to shooting that he was not going to be able to finish this, and we better prepare for it. And somehow when action was said, he somehow dug down and was able to pull it out.
He was able to do it once the camera came on, correct?
Yeah.
Once you began shooting, the defendant somehow found the energy and made the effort to do the exercises that you wanted him to do. Is that right?
That is correct.
And he managed to do them the way that you wanted him to do those exercises.
Pretty much so, yeah.
Let me just show you a clip from 16:45:38. What's going on here? Audio, please.
Getting ready to do push-ups.
And up. That's it.
I noticed the trainer is cheating. He's on his knees.
Yeah, that's right. Now I'm even on my feet. Okay, head is up, face is down. Abdominals are tight, rear is tight. I have no interest in seeing you do a lot of push-ups, but I do want to see you do them right. You don't have to do them all, you guys. So tight abdominals, tight rear. Heck, I'll do them on my knees. This is another way to do it. Good, I made that last one. Let's take a walk. Oh, yeah. Right back into it.
Now, in that video clip that we just saw, the defendant was doing push-ups,
Correct.
right? His back was straight, correct?
Yes?
He did it in the appropriate manner.
Yes, I'd say so.
Okay. And there was one point in that video where the defendant was sort of challenging you, wasn't he?
Probably.
You looked a little winded there, wouldn't you agree?
He was dreaming. I wasn't. No, I think he was kidding and go along with the theme of exercise video or a show, kind of the motivation type stuff.
Now, when the video session was over, and I'm sorry, how long did it take?
I don't know the exact number of hours. I wouldn't be surprised if it took 15 hours.
Okay. Now, would that be 15 hours of actual taping?
No, wouldn't be 15 hours of actual taping, but what it would be 15 hours that day on the set. You do break for lunch, you do have breaks in between run-throughs, you do have breaks for camera reasons or any other problem, but it's quite a bit of exercise.
Okay. And after you completed the shooting for that day,
Right.
after about 15 hours, did you discuss with the defendant his performance that day?
I did in leaving.
Did you ask him how he was able to do that? I have one moment, John. This is a question posed to the defendant. Not offered for the truth of the matter stated.
We see counsel without